So, you want to know about my early life, huh? Alright, let's begin from when I was born. Unlike you or anyone else on this planet, I and my twin were not born as traditionally as you'd think. We were brought into existence in the year ZA 40,049 by our father when he split us into two beings. My twin brother Pyrus and I are something called soul twins. One soul shared by two bodies. There is no physical, spiritual, mental, or elemental way to destroy our soul. But it can, however, be forced to share itself through two or more bodies. The reason our father did that to us was because of our original body, Elysian, was in the middle of obliterating one of the largest cities on the planet. After Elysian was split into both Alexander and Pyrus, I ran away in fear and confusion about the whole ordeal, as Pyrus stayed behind to hear out our father's final words. I guess I wasn't mentally prepared to be in two places at once, I suppose. The year was ZB 40,647. Many years had passed since I ran away, and I used my abilities called the arcane arts to push my body's limits beyond the superhuman. I was well above people in terms of both physical and mental strength. I had learned a great many things over the course of my life, as well as formed many friendships. The problem is I never seem to notice that they die of old age while I barely age at all. Due to this, I continued to push my body further and further, increasing my power and control of the arcane arts, becoming one of the strongest people to exist in that current time. And to test that theory out, I had journeyed out to find Pyrus. As it turns out, Pyrus had become the most influential person on the planet. He was the head of the Council of Affinity within Magestris. That did not bode well for me at all. I let my overwhelming power get the better of me and attacked the main headquarters for the council, demanding that I should see Pyrus immediately, as I was killing everyone around me. After I had regained my mind, I fled in fear of what I had just done and hid myself in solitude, reflecting on the actions of what I had just done, what I caused. After a few decades had passed, I felt that I had reflected on my actions enough. I left my solitude and began an organization that would cause a worldwide revolution. Chaos would ensue around the surface of the planet of Magestris, and I would eventually get my fight with Pyrus because of this. Not long after I created this organization, however, I met a young child with horrible burns in the top half of his face. He was blind, scared, and unable to move in fear of being attacked again. I took him with me and raised him as my own. I cared for this child, this blind, scared, and unwanted child. I named him Val, but he chose to keep his last name. He was adamant about joining my organization. I agreed on one condition, of course, that he was to be trained the same way I trained myself, and Val agreed. Little did I know that Val was scheming behind my back, and Pyrus was the one who was helping him. Val knew what must be done. Around that time, a civil war had broken out between the king's army and a rebel army not far from the royal borders. Near the end of that war, my organization and I decided to intervene. The banners of the Shadow Warlords rose up high as my army descended and began to eradicate the remains of the armies that were still alive. At the epitome of the battle, I sought out Pyrus for our battle, only to find out that this war had been staged from the very beginning. I called a retreat the second we were being overwhelmed. Within the meeting of our organization's generals, I had begun to grow extremely paranoid as each second passed. In blind fear and panic, I attacked every general there and absorbed their spectral essence into my own. This made me much more powerful, but at the cost of my sanity. After this, something inside me just clicked. My expression was still for so long before a smile made its way forth. Seeking out the only general that skipped the meeting, I had to try to look for the one person who was acting the weirdest out of all my generals. I had to look for Val. I later found him trying to free all the prisoners we had captured over the years. I attacked him with the same blind panic that I had when I killed the other generals in the meeting. What ensued after that was a fight that lasted up for 6 hours. Many large craters and over 10,000 quadrants obliterated. Within the final moments of the fight, I had decapitated Val and disintegrated his body due to the two of us being heavily fatigued. I stood there for what seemed like years and stared at Val's head before I slowly smirked and walked away. Within seconds, hundreds of chains had latched onto my body. The chains were digging into my skin, flesh, bone, and some of my organs. Looking up, I could see the remnants of Pyrrhus' army pinning me down with the chains they had created. They were trying to put me down for good. Lifting myself to my knees, I tried my hardest to look directly up before I saw it. A cylindrical sphere-like weapon above the stratosphere, far above it, and it was aimed directly at me. I have never feared for my life since then, and it looked like there was nothing I could do. I had snapped, and my conscience was just a blur as my body changed. Skin darkened. Bones changed. Scales grew. My body had transfigurated into a hybrid, and this pressure was no more. Pyrrhus shouted at everyone to leave as he threw his hands together and swung downwards, causing the cylindrical sphere to condense into a small ball and fall at a blinding speed towards me. Within seconds the weapon appeared, ruptured, and exploded in front of me. There was nothing but a flash of white and the blanket of darkness, appearing for what seemed like an eternity.
We'll give it a shot. Oh, we're halfway there. Oh, give it all a prayer. Take my hand. We'll make it, I swear. I need supplies.
Don't you dare! Don't you know?
Welcome to the pumpkin culture.